This is you have. Welcome, everybody, to the July meeting of Land Preservation. I want to thank Fran for being on IT person that Chris is out, and I'm truly grateful that you are here, because without someone in that seat, we struggle. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a newbie at this, so.
Yeah,
bear
well, I
with
know.
me.
Well, you're not as newbie as we are. So thank you.
100% so far.
All right,
Yeah.
yes, you are.
You got it started?
I want to start out by saying that we have a lot on our agenda. So if comments and questions, ask your comments, make it in your question. Offer your comments, ask your questions, but make it as concise as you can and try to keep it moving. I will call roll in Janine's absence. I think she'll be here momentarily. Daryl Burkhart, here. Janine LaPrade, not here yet. Mary Beth Lynch. Here. Lisa Pappas, not here today. David Reed.
Here.
Tim Redmond.
Yes.
Liz Wiseman is here. And Barry is here. Chris Cheng, our project manager, is on vacation. Our agenda, have you all had a chance to look over the agenda? Are there any additions or changes? You got, I hope you got my email. Tim and I talked, and we are going to put on next month's agenda his idea.
Excel. So.
Right, right. So we'll do that in August. And thank you for postponing that time. That's a good idea.
I do have a request
Yes,
for Barry and for you.
okay,
You sent the files out on Monday.
yes.
Barry sent the files out on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday, or today's Thursday. Tuesday is board night. Monday and Tuesday, I'm pretty busy. So
Okay,
I'm wondering if you guys can possibly send them on Friday
before.
before. Is that possible? Is there any
Uh,
time?
the only delay is me getting in what I'm waiting for from other people. So, but I could move that up. I could just let people know.
Yeah.
That I need their information by then.
Okay.
And then I will, and I would have to get it to Fran and.
Right.
And have time for her to post it, but yeah, I feel as if we can do that.
But you only sent two files. The agenda.
Oh, I sent.
Oh,
I sent like 10.
there were 14 files today, plus Tim's 30-page PDF plus 7 appendices. Thank you, Tim.
And if you could look at it over the weekend, that would be helpful. Okay, I'm gonna,
Thank you.
okay. Good, thanks, I'll try to do that. Any other, any comments on the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve and support?
So moved.
Tim
Report.
and David, all in favor? Opposed? The agenda is approved. Now our minutes from our June meeting, I wanted to say to David, thank you very much for doing this and for taking notes. It is not the most fun job, but you did a great job.
Those are the came from.
Yeah, however you do it, I'm appreciative. Any comments on the minutes, changes, and if not, is there a motion to approve the minutes for last month and support?
So moved.
David,
Support.
support from Tim. All in favor of approving the minutes for June?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes for June are approved, and I will get those to Frank. Oh, yes,
That's a question.
Yep.
If someone is out there, do I admit them right away?
Yeah, you can go ahead and. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi,
And I meant to ask, while we were taking roll. Is there anybody online?
Jan Culbert's in.
Oh, okay. Meeting's almost.
Great. It's a good note. Sorry, I was just on a call
oh,
about
that's okay.
the slashing of Medicaid funding, which only marginally impacts my job, so.
Do what you need.
David, do you work with this? So, oh, okay.
Okay,
Because I admitted her, now she's on the screen.
hello, Jan.
You probably,
Is there a way, it's fine.
Oh,
It doesn't bother us.
No, it doesn't bother us.
Yeah.
And do you mind having being on the screen?
there's a button you press. to switch it.
Well, see, look at the little top.
yeah.
square is
Isn't
us.
that what
up
is
there.
recorded?
Did you want me to unmute?
No,
I don't know how to switch it to you guys.
we were up there.
Yeah. Mm.
All right, let's. Kathleen, you know.
Jan, if it makes you more comfortable, you can turn off the video.
I don't know how to
I'm
get,
just here for public comment, that's all.
Write
Oh,
it
okay,
down.
very good.
Get in there. Actually, we are there, Jan.
Drag her out.
So,
No, I didn't.
let's go on, to
Because that
public
was what's being
comments.
recorded.
And we have
yeah,
Kathleen is present. Do you have any comments? She does not have comments. Jan, would you like to go ahead with your public comment?
Yes, I just had one announcement, and that is the Jackson Road corridor. Final report, draft final report is in the packet for the Planning Commission meeting on Monday. And there will be a presentation at 7 o'clock if you'd like to join in via Zoom, or it will be recorded. And we're trying to get as much feedback as we can and from all of the committees and the commissions. That's it. Thank you.
And that is next Monday at 7 PM.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Now, any other, Fran, is there anyone else? with
Nope.
Hand raised? Okay.
no,
Reports of other commissions. You have David's. If there's any, so Jan gave us a brief report just then on planning. I don't have anything for the environmental sustainability group. And this is the Parks and Pathways in front of that was on the agenda. Any comments?
But I do have a report from the board.
Oh, you have an additional report. Well, it's in the packet.
That's the last board meeting. We talked about last night. too.
Oh, last night, please go ahead.
Right.
Yes.
Thing that we're most concerned about, we didn't do any properties or anything like that. What we're trying to do is, actually Kathleen and I. Kathleen and I are working to do a presentation to the DDA. To try and convince them. It's to their best interest, to the township's best interest. For them to not take the capture on the various villages in fire. Preservation, conservation, parks and transit. Amounts to about $600 and some odd thousand a year. That goes up each year, of course, until, well, first one that stops is parks and then preservation stops. I haven't done that, but their current cash surplus, cash in the bank is $5.5 million. If they continue, or if they agree to give us, to refund the money to us, their balance will continue to go up. Well, actually, the first couple of years it goes down because they're still paying off the bond. The bond is paid off in 29, I think. So in 30, it starts to go up, and by 2038 or 2039, which is the last, which is the end of one of those 4 villages, their balance will be $8-point-something million in cash. So they can afford it. And we just have to present it so that they think they're, how would you say, Karen?
It is in their best interest.
It's their
They
best
don't have
interest
to keep track of it.
and township best interest for that, and as well as fire preservation parks.
When you say refund, that implies that it goes backwards.
Well, I think I asked Ryan how would this work, because they're legally. That one is legally theirs, if I ordered, they get that. So they actually have to either, I'm not sure, I asked Ryan, I said, are you just not gonna pay it, or are you gonna pay it to them and they're gonna pay you back? But, he said, I'm not sure, I'm working that out, because legally, that money's theirs. So they have to, I don't know if they'll just sign a waiver that each year and say, we don't want that, or if they'll take the money and send it back. We haven't figured it out, we first have to get their permission.
Yeah. But we'd be going forward, this would be the case?
Yeah, for the next,
So not a refund per se, from
well,
the past,
you're right, it's not a refund, they are,
but it's been 20 years, and that can be a lot of money.
yeah. Right. Yes, then pay it all back, that would be the end of their fund balance.
And so just for everybody's information, if I understand this correctly, I remember we talked about this like 20 years ago. The millage is levied on all property in the township. Some of that's in the DDA. And there's some agreement or ordinance or whatever that says that the portion of the money that is generated by properties within the DDA district doesn't go to the land preservation millage fund, it goes into the DDA's fund.
That's correct. And it's not restricted, I don't believe. They
Right,
can use it however they want to.
right.
Pay the road.
So when people vote yes and pay their property taxes for this program, some of that money goes to the DDA. I think Jessica told me it was like 70 grand
$70,000 a year.
a year for this program alone. So over 10 years, it's, potentially 700 grand, it's a good chunk of money. And it's just gone into their coffers and, again, I asked about it 20 years ago, and this is just how it is, and so we haven't really talked about it since then. But it's come back up again.
Now, especially with the dissolution of the federal government.
Correct, yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
What's the rationale, for that, for, LPC money, land preservation money going to the DDA?
I think, I don't know, it was a way to keep more money coming into the DD. I have
Yeah,
no
I
idea.
don't remember that, but again, I remember these questions came up 20 years ago, like, how come we're not getting, all of the money that the village generates? Because some is going to the DDA. And I just, it's long, I don't remember the answer anymore, but I remember like, oh, geez.
It might be a state ordinance.
Yeah.
It might be written into the state ordinance that allows townships or villages or whatever, DDA. Now, part of that they get. And we actually tried to make the fire village a fire SAD. And it almost made it. An attorney, attorney looked at it and said, this is really a village. No, it got on the ballot as a village.
But there may be some other way to make this happen.
Yeah, but we have to get their approval.
Did you present this then on Tuesday
No.
or not yet?
No, we talked about it on Tuesday.
talked about it.
Kathleen and I were nominated to be the sacrificial goat.
Yeah.
Good, that's a good team, good.
It'll be, I think we can convince, there's several people on the DEI, I think that would see them as a sense. So, especially since they're gonna have 5 million plus cash balance in their bank accounts from now, or at least the next 10 years.
And you mentioned the bond, is that for the
Road.
Jackson Road?
Yeah, there's, I think 1.2 million due this year, and the next 2 or 3 years, it's 300,000. So I don't know why it's 1.2 million this year.
Yeah. And what else did the DDA spend money on besides that?
Good question.
You'll find out.
Maintenance,
Yeah,
cutting the grass,
yeah.
see, what else do they do? Well, they give us, I think they give them, this group $40,000 or $50,000. They give the fire department $250,000. They give the parks department $40,000 or $50,000. So some of that money does come back to the township.
Okay.
We just want it all.
Yeah. Big fund balance.
I think we're probably all with you on that.
I'm sorry?
I think we're all with you on that.
Yeah.
I hope it works out.
I appreciate you all taking
Yeah,
that.
thank you for doing it. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, for the environmental sustainability group, I just want to remind everybody, and Beth, you may not know about this, but there's a sustainability fair every fall that tries to teach the populace, the population of the township and the surrounding area about sustainability measures that they can be part of in their homes or businesses or whatever. So it's going to be staged at Meyer in the parking lot on the east side of the building. And it's going to be roomier than last year, bigger area. There's a lot of things there, and I'll be taking an LPC map that maps out all the preserved lands that people who come to it can take a look at. And this is October the 5th. And it starts at noon, ends at 4 or 5 o'clock. I think the music this year. Yeah, not sure about that yet, but the planning for it is beginning in earnest, and it would be nice to have some participation by.
What's the date again? October.
October fifth,
So
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
And if anyone here would like to volunteer to work with Tim, as a representative from land regulations, that would be wonderful. So you can think about that.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, thank you for that report, though. Thank you for adding to our environmental sustainability report. Moving on to old business, Daryl, has some financial statements in the packet for us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have all my stuff on my desk. But on the financial statements, as you looked at the April and the May statements, you can see that the balance sheet was cleaned up, like Ryan had said that he would do. And it's the income, revenue, and expenses look fine. There's only one line item in there that I'm going to check on, and that's the cost allocation, because it's a little different from what I was expecting. But other than that, it's pretty basic, straightforward.
It's higher.
It's yes. and the finance.
Thank you. Any questions for you? Okay. Federal grant funding. I had the Legacy Land Conservancy press release in the packet that kind of summarizes what's happening. Anything Barry you'd like to add to that, or that's sort of our status right now?
Which press release?
Barry, just,
How old is it?
it's the one that just came out.
Today or yesterday?
Not yesterday, no, it was, yeah, it was last.
I don't know, maybe.
It was the one that right after you notified us that this had happened, I found that press release and pulled that up.
Because Diana wrote an update. She does an update every Friday or Monday,
Okay,
and I didn't realize this was part of that thing, but RCPP program is canceled nationwide.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just individual.
Wow.
I thought it was just, the Democratic states, but it's national.
so is that part of your report? Are you gonna talk about that?
No,
Or do you wanna talk about that?
not specifically, I was gonna,
Okay,
the money was rescinded, we were looking at $6 million of matching funds.
It's a bit limiting.
I mean, it was an opportunity to do more projects, obviously, and do ones that would potentially be funded by other programs. We had written it to be broadly a bill. Properties that had no farmland on, or only had a little bit of farmland, or whatever, that wouldn't qualify for the ASAP program, or the state program. Yeah.
So it's gone forever, or it's gone for a few years?
Or
This
another
administration.
Right, okay.
so that's why that GDA money would be very,
And a little bit,
moving on to attendance. Anyone know that they will not be here on August 14th?
Me.
Okay, very bad. All right, anyone else?
14.
And Lisa, I'm assuming in the back. New business. We have, Barb, the deputy clerk, sent an email. And these three of us these terms expire. So Jimmy, if you're interested in continuing for. Love for you to continue if you're up for it, but you need to write a letter of interest to the board. And I don't
It's,
know what that needs to include, and I'm assuming you'll continue with us. But anyway, maybe you need to write a letter of interest too.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, maybe you need to write a letter of interest too, because your name was in Barb's email, but your term expires November 28th. No,
No,
November
actually,
20th.
6.
They're all the same.
No, they're not. No,
December
you and Janine are December 12th. But I'm assuming that the board would reappoint you. It would make sense to me, but
If I get reelected, I have to run for election in 26 or 28.
Oh.
No, 27.
28, but this is this year.
25. I have to run for election in 26.
Right, so you're good.
Huh?
You just need to get a board appointment, a reappointment, I guess. Okay. So think about that. I'll remind you if you,
I'm sorry, when are those letters due by?
well, they're not, your term expires December 12th. I will remind you. But if you'd like to continue, which would be wonderful as far as I'm concerned, you know, I suppose other people can apply too. But if you'd like to continue, Barb said, just submit a letter of interest to the township board.
Okay.
2 months ahead of
Is-
time.
Or anytime. I mean, Barb sent it out, probably in June.
Way early.
Got it.
July, yeah, so she's on top of this. I just wanted to give you all a heads up. Is there anything that you know that letter of interest needs to include? No, just,
So, your board, I'm interested in continuing my service on the open.
On the webpage, there's a link to do that.
oh, there is,
Yes.
okay,
For all positions.
okay. Thank
That's
you.
not the application.
You have to reapply or,
I would think so, because you want to standardize it.
well, Barb said submit a letter of interest.
Oh,
That's
really?
what she said,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I
Thank you
can.
for the reminder.
Yeah, oh, sure. I'll follow up on that and just make sure, what Barb is looking for. The Levine property, you have in your packet a survey and the description of that property, and I'm gonna let Barry talk about that.
So when we bought the property from Mercero many years ago, with a little bit of frontage on Marshall Road, the north side of Marshall Road. I think that was 34 acres. And we were mostly interested in the woods that's on the north side of the property. And on the south side of the property with a little bit of road frontage, was the big pole barn out there. And we were debating about what to do with it, and there was interest in a couple of the adjacent landowners to acquire the land the pole barn was on, which was mostly old pastures. And so we went through a process similar to a buy, protect, sell kind of thing, and just made it available to the immediate neighbors. And said, tell us what you're gonna do with the pole barn. And ended up selecting Arthur and Marjorie Levine, whose son Mike and his partner Erica run the farm just down the road adjacent to their farm, the Nature Nurture Farm. And Mike said, you know, we would like to be able to store equipment there, and they now have some animals there. They were thinking about that several years ago, but it took some time for that to happen. And maybe doing their seed sorting in there, etc. So that's what the preferred use of that property was. And so we end up keeping the northern 26 acres, selling off the southern 8 acres with this pole barn, with a conservation easement on it, so it cannot be, no houses are allowed on it, there can be other agricultural buildings within an envelope, so forth. But at the time, we didn't have any other access to that northern 26 acres of woods. And so in that easement negotiation process of the 8 acres, we also negotiated an access easement, just 15-foot wide, I think it was, pretty narrow, but at least for pedestrian use on the east side of those 8 acres. It ran north right along the property boundary to get up to the 26 acres. Subsequent to that, we purchased the property to the east of it from Virginia Loveland. A couple of different parcels there. That had some additional road frontage, although not adequate to put in a parking area. We later found out. But nevertheless, we do have another point of access on Marshall Road, at least for pedestrian use, to go through the Loveland property and get back to the Mercero 26 acre property. So we don't really need this access easement anymore on what's now the Levine property. And so the request from the Levines is for us to abandon that access easement
Right, so we initially made the deal with them. When they got that 8 acres in the
Correct.
barn. Because of the access issue.
Yeah.
But we don't need it anymore, correct at all?
And, yeah,
Correct. Because we acquired the adjacent property. And have road frontage. Or at least a trailhead to get back to the Mercer Road Woods. That's not adequate for a parking area, we're looking at other options for that in the future, but in the short term, we at least have. A chunk of frontage on Marshall Road where a trailhead could be put in for pedestrian use to get back to the rest of the.
So would the access 15-foot easement or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Would that in any way provide for parking for the?
No,
No,
no, it's not big enough to do that, and it's only for pedestrian use. That was the whole agreement.
and I remember being out there. Who, how many years has that been in place and who has actually accessed it or used it to get to the? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Has there actually been any use?
No, it's never been developed in any way as a pedestrian, route. So it never, and some of it's brushy.
Yeah.
And some of it's also very close to the pole barn.
Yeah.
That was Mike's concern about it, was if it was ever gonna be used and they were gonna have animals in there or whatever. That we'd have to, it's a liability, we would have to fence off the width of the easement. In order to, discourage people from, moving off of the easement and onto the rest of the property, whether it be animals or machines and so forth, they don't want to have.
It's just the Lewis area we're talking about. There's a file called the Lewis area. That you said.
No,
No, okay.
No, this is in the stuff that I sent.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are we looking for a vote on this or what?
So very, the meetings are wanting action when, and just like a deed. Like a legal document that gives up our rights, please.
yeah, so it would be a recommendation from the LPC to the Board of Trustees. That access easement be abandoned. That we,
And Mariah would then draft whatever documentation.
Correct.
That if the board approves.
and Barry, in your broad understanding of issues like these, you see no reason why we should not. You think we should abandon the easement?
we do not need the easement. Anymore. For access to our property from Marshall Road.
And it is strictly a pedestrian access.
Correct.
And see, for the landowner, that creates a liability issue.
Yes,
Especially as it goes near the barn, be considered attractive.
Yeah.
So,
it's 20 foot.
well, yeah, attractive.
Yeah.
So as a courtesy to the landowner. I would,
So the other piece of this is that. So the 8 acres was sold to Arthur and Marjorie Levine and added on to their parcel, which was 42 acres, so they own 50 contiguous acres.
That's the part with the barn?
The 8 acres had the pole barn, has the pole.
It has the pole barn.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the 42 acre piece has now been combined with the 8.
Yeah.
Into one parcel, has their house on it. That's where they live. And they've, nominated their 42 acres, to the program. We all, went out and looked at it some time ago, we never pursued it, at least not yet. And they haven't pressed on it, they just, wanted to have it in the queue as a possibility. So that is a potential future project for us. So the property to the west of that is Mike and Erica's property. And when we
Nurture farm.
correct. which is more or less an 80-acre piece. Our easement is on 60 of the 80 acres. They excluded 20 acres from that. We did the easement. That was 10 years ago. Like last month, I think it was. And I mentioned that because we in the process of purchasing the easement from Mike and Erica, also negotiated an access easement across the northeast corner of their property. I think also 20-foot wide, and it was long enough to touch both. This is before we bought the Mercer Road parcel and before Arthur and Marjorie bought their parcel. So both of those were still in other ownerships. So we had an access easement that ran, 20-foot wide, that ran along their eastern boundary, such that it would touch both the Mercer Road property and Arthur and Marjorie bought their property from University Bank. It was in foreclosure. Thinking that we might buy one of those properties sometime in the future and would want to have, and we also had in mind the acquisition of the property to the north of Mike and Erica's property, which is owned by Dexter Land Holdings, is Dave Lutton's property. And our Mercer Road property touches that, Sloan Kingsley Lutton Dexter Land property at a point. And so we were thinking long-term about having a trail network go through all there, and so we negotiated this 20-foot wide easement on Mike and Erica's property. So that if we acquired one of the other properties, and we ended up acquiring one of them, that we would have the ability to step onto their property. And then if we ever acquired the other property, then we would have a means of getting to it. The Lutton property. That access easement on Mike and Erica's property was for 10 years. And the 10 years just passed. So we owned that 26 acres of Mercer Road woods. And we may at some point acquire the woods on the Dexter Land property. And if we do, then we're back to just having a point where they touch and people could jump over that. But we don't have really any proper access there. So different ownerships, same family. Yeah, Mike and Erica were uncomfortable having that access easement be as wide as it was, and as long as it was. And that's now no longer existing. It was a 10-year thing. We had to acquire both one of those two properties and the property to the north. And we did one of those, but not the other one. And so the access easement went away on their property. So they're not opposed to having some minimal access across the very northeastern corner of their property. But maybe less than 20-foot wide and so forth. So the request has come from Arthur and Marjorie to abandon the access easement on that, the 8 acres that we sold to them, the old barn.
Arthur and Marjorie
Or Mike's parents.
Yeah.
Yep. So you could choose to act on that independently. Or you could tie it into having access across the very narrow piece of Mike and Erica's property.
Let's make a deal.
That's, yeah,
So is it? The easement that goes by the pole barn, is that the one that expired after 10 years?
no, that's the one that's still in existence that they're asking to abandon.
For me to make a decision on this, I need a visual that shows the properties, shows the current easements, shows proposed. Because all the verbal description
Yeah.
doesn't register to me.
So, and that's fine, we were provided the survey, I believe, of the
Yeah.
Levine property.
But that's only a
Parents-
piece of it, that's not the
parents'
bigger picture.
Yeah.
I need a big.
Okay,
And so the DD Marshall Preserve, does that connect with Lutton property up there somewhere?
It does not, but it connects with the Mercer Road 26 acres.
Okay, short of the Lutton property, it is not as, it just doesn't,
It doesn't go as far north.
oh, I see.
Only that 26 acres of the Mercer Road property.
So is there,
Instead of corner.
are you proposing, I mean, are you saying we could negotiate a trail through DD Marshall? And then if we have a little, you know, what do you call it, little, trail, a short trail through the northernmost of the Levine property?
Of
To
the-
get to-
of the Levine Comfort property. yeah,
Yes,
of the-
correct. To get to the, if we ever bought the one.
Yes,
So it'd just be that little piece up in the corner.
yeah, it could be
Yeah.
6 by 6. You know, just, you know,
Just enough for a while.
yeah, just, you know, and I think that Mike and Erica might be supportive of that. There are some properties to the north also that are off of, I think it's 4 She Lane. That runs south next to Ann Arbor Road and has a cul-de-sac at the end and the parcels kind of fan out. From there, the houses are near the cul-de-sac. And then there's a, you know, nice chunk of woods that runs to the south. But then we'd be dealing with 1 or 2 of those landowners. And we don't have any leverage over them. They couldn't agree to do that on their property. That's another option, but in the short term. You know, we, you know, have these 2 interests there, the Levines with abandoning their access easement and our interest in being able to connect those at some time.
So it sounds as if there might be a consensus on us abandoning the north-south easement. But in order to negotiate some sort of trade-off, we would want to have some sort of visual, so that we could
Sure.
see that.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I think that's a good idea, Harry, and I'm glad you brought that up. I see no reason not to abandon. Easement.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Acres, and, but. I see a lot of reasons for us to be able to have, some. Easement into that little point.
Yeah.
Where the properties join, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say you think that, Michael and Erica might be supportive of that? You talked to them about it?
Yes,
Oh,
numerous times, and they prefer not to have it at all. They were very uncomfortable with 20 foot by whatever that distance was, but they agreed to it at the time that the conservation was being negotiated.
Right.
We're, you know, reluctant, but pardon,
Time limited.
that's correct. That was, you know, that was our negotiation. We want this, and they said, okay, we'll give you that. We're not crazy about it, but it's gotta be for 10 years, and bam, 10 years went by.
So,
But I'm sorry, Gerald, but in the interests of the township, and I'm speaking.
Yeah.
The Levines, in the interests of township, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To have that.
Yeah.
Just a lot of sense. For
Yeah, sure. And, you know, there are 2 different landowners, Mike and Eric on their property, Arthur and Marjorie on their property. But they're fans.
So for the purposes of the notes, could you be more specific about which property you're lifting up as one that we should consider for negotiation? I just lost the thread around what's the name of the property?
So, the request is from,
I got that
Okay.
request. I'm talking about the new consideration you've raised.
Northeast corner of Arthur and Marjorie.
no,
Okay, just right
northeast
off
corner
that.
of Mike and Erica.
Of Mike
The
and
northeast
Erica,
corner.
Yeah.
Of what's Mike and Erica's property name?
Levine, Mike and Erica.
It's,
Levine.
they're 2 different Levine properties.
Nature and nurture would be.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, it's the Nature Nurture Farm, but I think it's listed as owned by Mike Levine and Erica.
okay.
Pretty sure of that. I don't think it's a corporate name.
So Erica has a different name, we want to put that correctly.
Yeah.
What's Erica's last name there?
KEMPTER.
Which
It
joins,
just, I'm sorry,
That's
Mercy.
probably enough.
yeah, yeah. But I guess in the future, it'd be helpful to maybe this was part of your your report later, Barry, it's having the clarity of the ask or the request or the idea even in writing. Coming into the conversation, just, I think that would help prepare for the discussion and.
So the request was included in your,
Right, but you're adding an additional
I-
Right.
consideration,
Yes.
so that's all I'm saying, just
Right.
again, just for ease of communication and
I just.
discussion
Yeah.
and reflection, like,
so the request came in from the Levines to abandon the easement.
Right.
right.
That's
That-
what I
That's the
included,
one
right.
piece, and then
Right.
I'm bringing into the discussion today.
Yeah.
you know,
Right, and
the
we're now
negotiation-
delaying that first request to
Correct.
consider the second piece, and
Correct.
that's all good, I'm just saying, like.
Yeah,
for
gotcha.
ease
But
of-
we can let the Levines know via you that we're definitely open to talking about that and I don't know how you put that, but
No, it's just, we're open to accommodate them, but
right.
we need them to accommodate the township as well.
Liz asked about the Marshall Park. And I was thinking, she was talking about Marshall Park on Marshall Road
Yes,
or on.
there's
Seaway.
two of them.
I think what you were talking about was the Douglas David Marshall. Reserve.
Yes.
correct.
Where did that name come from?
That was Virginia Loveland's
Yes,
first husband.
and she requested that we name that.
Yes, in his honor, he was killed in an automobile accident.
Okay, I'm just curious because
And then she remarried and took the name of her second husband, Loveland. But, you know, when we bought the property, she said, "I'd like this to be the name." They were gonna build a house up there at some point,
Right.
It didn't happen
Okay.
because of this.
because these names pop up and I'm just wondering where they come from. So-
Yeah.
So I had to look on Google Maps and say, how does Marshall Park connect
Right.
with Mercer?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, a little confusing.
Yeah.
And, you know, of all the names that somebody could have,
Yeah,
So next month, can you provide us for whatever
yes.
survey
I will
documentation or
prepare
will be helpful?
Further visuals,
Okay,
also notify the Levines.
there's no time pressure on this? They don't want it done like right away?
No,
Okay, all right.
well, that thing, pretty soon.
I mean, they'd sure like to have it off of the books, if you
Yeah.
will.
Right.
But, you know, they waited until the 10 years had passed on Mike and Eric's property and then made the pitch for it. That was their strategy, which is perfectly reasonable. And so I think it's perfectly reasonable for us to say, yeah, we're interested, but
Mhm.
can we tie this together?
Okay, moving on, we are now at your open session consultants
Yes.
report and project update.
So we already talked a bit about the rescinding of the RCPP funds. We're not anything more to say about that, it's just hugely disappointing. And frustrating, you know, there were funds that Congress had approved and that Congress directed the administration to implement, and that changed. It's never.
They implemented it.
Yeah, by flushing it down the toilet. So a good piece of news, is that the expanded Ann Arbor Green Belt program, so-called Blue Belt, because they're focusing on water quality protection. There will be a rollout to partners, this month. There's a monthly meeting of all the folks that are involved in conservation around here called the Washtenaw Conservation Collective. And Rosie Paul Donaldson from the Greenbelt staff have requested time on that agenda for this meeting. I think it's next week. To sort of, you know, present it to the group first and get some feedback. But the intention is to have that be functional, available, either in August or September. Longer than we were hoping for, but they're gonna get there. So, and what I've heard so far is that it will be, they have two focus here. So the you know, existing Greenbelt program will continue as it has, with greater flexibility and broader interests. And that program covers Scio Township to 1 mile west of Z. So Stabler Road is on part of that line of longitude, right? Yeah. But there's not a road on the entire distance. Regardless, it's 1 mile west of Z Road. So this will then include all areas of Washtenaw County that are in the Huron River watershed upstream of Barton Pond. So it will cover the rest of Scio Township, so the western third, basically, of the township.
Upstream of what? I'm sorry.
Barton Pond, which is
Can you
where the
say
city gets 80% of its water supply from, and so the idea is that the better quality of water coming into the river means they have to do less treatment, and so forth.
Can you repeat that? All areas of Washtenaw County, something
In the Huron River watershed,
in the Huron River watershed, okay,
upstream of Barton Pond.
okay.
So not, further downstream, obviously. And that will extend, to the county line, to the north, the Huron River watershed. Upstream of Barton Pond continues, well into Livingston and Oakland counties. That's not part of the picture. But it will expand the potential area for use of funds. For, and again, I'll learn more when I attend the Zoom on this, but it sounds like any property that has a stream on it. That eventually makes its way to the Huron, and they were also talking about groundwater recharge areas. They've mapped that somehow, so it's something I'll learn next week. Obviously, groundwater, it recharges the aquifers and feed the river. And so that's if we have properties that have one or both of those features on them, then that will be a potential source of.
Is a drain considered a river or upstream?
I will find that out. I'm guessing yes.
Many of them were just man-made or man-streamed.
Right. Yeah, but ones were either wetlands or, or whatever that had a stream or whatever going through it, eventually found its way to the river. They got channelized and got ditched and so forth. So, so that's a positive, and that will be available to us within a few months here. A disappointment with RCPP, but that's a good thing. And then regards to the ongoing the issue with the State Public Act 116. And just to refresh everybody, and we talked about a bit last time, but just to reiterate for everybody. There were and we only had one here in Scio Township, but some other places had many more, where when we were acquiring the conservation easement, the landowner also had one of these, we call them farmland development rights agreements, the states, pursuant to Public Act 116 from 1974 or something. And the state Ag Department provided a consent agreement. Basically saying we're good with having the easement take precedence over the farmland agreement with the state. In a similar way that a mortgage subordination would occur. When the mortgage holder says, I agree to subordinate my interest to the easement. So the state did that. They provided the form. They signed them. They had them notarized. They provided it to us. We recorded them at closing. And they're now saying that they were a mistake and they're no longer valid. And for some landowners, again, not here in Scio, but other places, they're denying them the tax credits that they had access to by being enrolled in this program. And if you pay your local property taxes, and if it's more than 3.5% of your household income, you got anything above that back as a state income tax credit. So it shows up in your state income tax form.
Has there been an update to since last month?
So I saw on Monday draft legislation. And the hope was that it would be introduced next week before the end of the legislative session. I'm not sure that's going to happen. There was a Zoom on that earlier today that I was not able to attend, so I don't have an update on that. But the legislation actually was drafted. It was what I had suggested. It's pretty cool, actually. And some other things as well. And it's basically to say that anytime somebody conveys a conservation easement on a property that is also either enrolled in one of these farmland agreements or could be enrolled. And there's you have to be 40 acres or greater, and 51% of the property has to be in agricultural use. It can be smaller than 40 acres, but then you have to produce documentation that the owner or the operator or the farmer generated more than, I think it was $2,000 gross per acre in agricultural products. Then you would qualify for this also, whatever the qualifications are for being enrolled in a farmland development rights agreement with the state. That they can, anybody with a conservation easement would qualify for that program also and be able to take advantage of the tax credits. So that's where the legislation is going. And so, there's still, I think, still some work to do on the language, but at least, we've been working with a state senator from the Ingham County, I think he is. And he said, yep, I understand what you do. This is a good idea. It needs to be done. He requested the Legislative Service Bureau to actually draft the legislation. That's what we saw on Monday. And the senator from Ingham, said, I want to get this, introduced next week if possible.
So you'll update us in August. That's great news.
Well,
So
how many, can you remind me, Barry, how many landowners in Washtenaw County or in our township have been impacted by this?
So only one in Scio. And I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. And I can tell you that there are 9 landowners in Arbor Township that have one of these farmland agreements on it. I think there was 3 of them that had one of these consent agreements that the department provided, and so we recorded those at closing. And then the other ones, the other 6 had enrolled in the state program, got one of these agreements after they did the easement, so we didn't have to do the consent agreement ahead of time, but they enrolled afterwards, because we were always telling people that these programs were compatible, so once you convey an easement and you've got qualified farmland, enroll, you get tax credits for it. And a bunch of people did that. And some of those people have been denied their tax credits. And some people they haven't found yet. So they haven't denied them yet. But they sometime will. Across Washtenaw County, I don't know, I mean, I know of a couple of other.
I mostly meant Scio.
Yeah. But there are other ones here. There's reportedly something around 150 of these consent agreements statewide. But then again, there's, at least 6 landowners in Ann Arbor Township that did not have a consent agreement that are also enrolled in the program. And so there's that group of people. There's also somebody from Northfield who had conveyed an easement and then applied for one of these farmland agreements with the state and got denied. Because the state figured out that they had an easement on the property. They said, well, they're not compatible, so we're going to deny your request to be enrolled in the program. So there's different scenarios like that. So the potential impact is much broader. It's not just 150 consent agreements, it's potentially several hundred landowners, maybe more. So we do have one case here in Scio, and that was for the original easement was conveyed by Tom and Ellie Moore. It was on their farm on North Delhi Road. It's got a giant, beautiful old barn that says Meadow Croft on it. I think it was. And that they restored, and I mean, it's just gorgeous. But they also had one of these farmland agreements on their property. And so there was a consent agreement with the state. And that was going back 10 years ago, I think it was, we recorded that. You don't have to take the tax credits, but you're eligible for them. I don't know whether they took them or not. But then the property changed hands. Naomi Traeger is the new owner of that property as of a couple of years ago. And she was successful in changing, putting her name on the agreement going forward, because she's the owner now, not the Moores anymore. So there's a process you have to go through to get your name on the agreement, and the agreement runs with the property. For some set number of years, I don't know what hers is. So even if it's a new owner, the agreement still holds, you just have to change your name on it. But now she's interested in taking advantage of these tax credits. And she's run into the same wall as other people have. So I've been in contact with her, and she's exploring a couple of options. The state has indicated that they will support amending the conservation easement to list the state as a co-grantee. And if that occurs, then and gets reported and so forth, that they will be eligible for these tax credits going forward.
But the legislation would eliminate this problem.
That's correct.
So we may not need to go there.
But we
Yeah.
may, because she
Right.
wants to, the legislation is an
Yeah.
unknown.
Okay,
It may or may not happen, it may change over time. It would address this matter and take
Right.
care of it. But in the short term, she's like, need
Yeah.
to pay attention to this.
I want to say thank you for your work on this. It sounds as if you've really been instrumental in pulling together this legislation. I don't want to spend more time
Yeah.
on it right now,
Gotcha.
but thank you for all you've done to get this moving on the
Just say
legislation.
real quickly that
Yeah.
the other option that she actually sent me a draft, but an amendment to the easement. And so she's exploring that and I'm redoing that. Mariah will have to review it. And the state has to approve it. So there's all that kind of stuff happening. So she is pursuing that as one option. And the second one is that she's considering filing a lawsuit. And I think that she and all these people that have these consent agreements have a legit case because it says on the document, this is binding on the department and its successors.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's just, you're not paying it, but on this basis, but it's crazy. So she and others are considering filing a lawsuit. And that may happen as well. So there's continuing progress in that, but and the state ag department has been completely unhelpful and unresponsive about this. Which has been very frustrating. So we finally just said, the hell with them. We're gonna either encourage people to file lawsuits and we're gonna pursue the legislation as well.
Any other open session project update?
Yes, just a couple of things on the two properties that we have under contract at this point. The Hicks property, we had to amend the purchase agreement to extend the closing deadline, which was supposed to be the end of June. But still don't have all the comments from the city and the county. We're now, they said they're supposed to do that within 60 days of when I submit everything to them. We're now past 90 days. And so I actually contacted Mariah and said, are you willing to contact the city and county attorneys and say, what the hell's going on? And she did do that right away. So Mariah has really been a great asset for us. Because after the city and the county sign off on things, it still has to go for state and federal review. And the federal review used to take 60 days, but now it's an unknown how that's all it's going to take. So
But we still need to go through a federal review.
yes, of the easement language, it's all standard stuff. When Brian Thomas was running the program for the last 15 or 20 years, he streamlined those things, but he's retired now. He took the early retirement and there's way fewer staff at USDA and RCS than there used to be. And so the indication is it's not going to take 60 days. It could be 90, it could be 120. They don't know. So as soon as we can get past this first hurdle, it goes on to the next stage of the review. And then on the Hayden property, the board approved the recommendation to cover half of the cost for the additional environmental study work out there. That is scheduled for next week also. So they're going out to sample 3 areas on that property, 2 on the west piece, and then 1 on the east piece where the house is. And we're all hopeful that they won't find anything, and that we can move toward closing on that ASAP. So I'm still confident that both of those will close this year. But each of them have their own additional hurdles to cross.
Yeah.
That's all for the open session report.
Okay, now, Barry, would you summarize our closed session
Yes, I'm
topics?
glad to. We have an update on one of the properties, that we, got an appraisal for and, had made an offer for. And unfortunately, it's not gonna move forward. So that's a little disappointment. I had a meeting with another landowner, and they're still interested in working with us. They wanted some additional study of their property for its value. And so that's underway at this point. I think that could move forward this year yet. I don't think it'll, may not close this year, but I think there's a good chance that will move forward. There will be an opportunity for you folks to make a recommendation on a third property that we've been working on for a couple of years, and the landowner has agreed to the terms of the purchase agreement and the conservation easement. And so we're ready to make that recommendation to the board.
And that's for CD.
That's for easement purchase, that's correct. There's another property that we got an appraisal on, and there'd be an opportunity for you to, I think probably direct me to make an offer. But there should be some more discussion about that, you know, about how we want to handle that. But there's a property that we could move forward on as well. And then another property that we've been working on for a while. And I think we're close to that. She can get back to me. From my last communication, which I think was Monday also, but she had received my response, and I think sometime, maybe next month, we'll have the opportunity to make a recommendation on that. That's also a conservation. We have one new application that just picked up.
Great.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. We have another property that the owner is going to apply. Spoke to him also on Monday, but it hasn't shown up yet. But that will be a significant property for us to pursue. And then just a quick update on another conversation I had with a landowner about a project that could involve an easement, could involve an outright purchase and a buy protect sell project. So just a couple of updates on other properties. So there, I think very likely will be one recommendation that comes out of the closed session. That's probably all.
Thank you, Barry.
Full agenda.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
that.
it's a lot going on. Thank you, Barry. Let's go on to public comments. Kathleen, any comments? No, Kathleen? Nothing? Nobody with any enemies? Thank you, Fran. Let's
Move to
Yes, thank you.
into closed session.
I said,
to discuss.
Right, your closed session pursuant to section 15.268D of the Michigan Open Meetings Act to discuss pending property evaluation, specifically to consider the purchase of lease or the purchase or lease of real property up to the time an option purchase or lease that real property is obtained. And so there was a motion by LaPrade, a second by Burkhart, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
So
we'll
I
go
stopped them.
into closed session. Thank you, Fran.
Hang on.